Hello, and welcome to another edition of Beaver Finance. I'm your host, Robert T. Anderson. If you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing so you can be notified on our future videos. We provide personal finance, education, tutorials, reviews, and a lot more. So stay connected with us. In this video, we're going to talk to you about the top 5 practical things you need to do before you start a business today. So if you're starting a business soon, or if you're in the early stages, you won't want to miss this video. So the top 5 things to do before you start a business. Number 1, you want to take inventory of your financial situation. So this is important because if right now you're in a job, you're either on a salary or you've done commission sales, you're probably very comfortable in terms of collecting a regular paycheck. You're used to that stability. Starting a business can be very different, right? Depending on the type of business you're starting. Cash flow could be delayed. Certainly starting a business, most businesses don't start a profit for at least a year to 3 years minimum. It's not easy. So, we don't want to sugarcoat it, which is why you want to be as financially prepared as possible. So one good strategy, could certainly be to ensure that, your spouse, if you're married or in a relationship, has a stable job and can potentially support the basic needs of the household while you're starting your business or your next venture. That'll be very important. Obviously, having an emergency fund, really understanding your budget, having extra money set aside, maybe having a line of credit available, credit card, all these things to kind of get organized and have available will be very important in terms of starting off on a financially sound foot, expecting that being paid, cash flow, and all those things won't necessarily happen right away. So that's important. Now, depending on what type of business you're starting, you want to take a look at, is it a product or is it a service? So, historically, service businesses have been easier to start. Depending on the service, startup capital can be very low to nothing. Some service businesses could cost you nothing to start up. However, it could be your time and effort or other resources at your disposal that you're using to earn that income. So, even if it was a delivery business and you're using your own personal car, you already have that car. You're not necessarily going to go purchase that car. So you do need to factor in, the wear and tear, that usage of that vehicle, those costs associated. But they're not necessarily new costs to you. So the barrier for you financially could be lower. Or if, you're starting a consulting practice or some sort of service, based on the skills that you have, that could be something that it's more so your time that you're billing, as opposed to, if you are creating a product or a brick and mortar store, for example, where you have actual inventory, that capital and expense is much higher. The risk is much higher. You may want to balance that with, okay, is that realistic for me to start? Certainly being, in a pandemic right now, or if you're watching this post-pandemic, you've seen what the pandemic has done to small businesses. So you may want to factor in, what's my pandemic plan essentially? or is my business pandemic proof? If you can do your business at home, maybe that's the best business to start, right? Not necessarily a home-based business, as you think about a MLM company, for example, which we don't necessarily want to start, but certainly looking at a business you can run out of your home, whether that's through phone, social media, online. That would certainly be a recommendation if possible. Certainly if you have other skills, other passions, do consider still starting them, but do your due diligence. So that kind of leads us into our next point, which is conduct a business plan. So, just as much as you want to get your financial position in order, you want to get an idea if you're starting a product or service. You also need to have a game plan in terms of what your company is all about or what your service is all about. You need to do competitive research in terms of what are your competitors doing. You want to get a sense of the market itself. So actually testing the market in terms of, is there a need and demand for my product or service? That's important. You also want to come up, with forecasts in terms of all your company's revenue and expenses, all costs associated and incurred along the way. Will you need, debt, what have you, other capital to start? Are you going to be using any capital that you have or any money you have to start this business? You're also going to want to look at, including in this business plan, a marketing plan too. Once you've done all the research, you've done all the forecasting, the numbers, you want to look at, okay, how am I going to get the word out? So how am I going to let people know what I do or what I sell or what I offer and how I help people, for example? So you want to look at, okay, what marketing channels am I going to use? Am I going to go all social media? Do I need to use e-commerce? Do I need to open up a store? Do I need to rent space? All those things you're going to want to look at in your marketing plan and break it down into, okay, what do I need to do pre-launch? What do I need to do in the first 90 days? What do I need to do in the rest of the year in terms of marketing plan? So, and then a lot of that you'll learn on the fly and be able to adjust your plan as you go. But you definitely want to get that roadmap started as quickly as possible. So once you've got your business plan, you need to look at, okay, do I have the funds to start this business? Or will I need to borrow to start the business? So if it is, or it happens to be a business that or like a service, for example, or an online product where I don't need to spend any money to start this business, then you can probably skip over this part. However, if you're going to need to use money for your business, are you going to have to take it out of investments? Or are you going to have to fund it through debt? Do you already have that line of credit available? Potentially, because there are ways to, use accounting in terms of using debt for your business and being able to deduct both expenses, interest. It might make sense to use debt as opposed to your own cash. Save your cash, to help float you, for your home expenses. Depending on the business, worst case, you could always close down the business, close out the corporation, keep the risk in the business if you are incorporated. If you're personal, well, you are your business, you are your personal. So obviously be prudent in that situation. And Obviously, we don't recommend going into debt per se. However, it can be used strategically and effectively in those situations where you are funding operations to grow your business. So taking a look at comparing your own funds versus borrowing funds, or if you already have access to borrowing solutions, you can use those avenues, or if you need to seek out new borrowing solutions such as lines of credit, other business loans, obviously you could speak to your local lender. And lastly, on that note, speaking to a lender, you're also going to want to create a list of other professionals that you need to put on your team in terms of you need a good accountant, whether that's only somebody that will do your tax return, which will now be a little more complicated now that you are running a business, incorporated or not, because so you do need to factor in, of course, all your accounting in terms of all your revenue, your expenses. So whether you do that yourself, we've done a review via QuickBooks. We'll leave the description. We'll leave the link in the description below, so you can check that out. It's a great tool. You can automate a lot of the entries. So, where in a traditional business, somebody would hire a bookkeeper, a lot of that work can be done for you. You simply connect your bank accounts and credit card statements or accounts, and it'll pull in all those transactions and help you categorize them. So you can read that full review, and there's also a promo offer to save 50%. So check out that link in the description below. And then along with an accountant, you may want to look at the merits of incorporating your business. So one reason to incorporate is certainly limited liability. That's important in case you're sued. You do want it to protect your personal assets. You don't want somebody, coming after, taking your house, what have you. Obviously that's an extreme situation, but you're already taking a big risk in terms of your business and being self-employed. But to take on the added risk, incorporating could be for you. Obviously, there are a lot of myths out there in terms of having X amount of revenue that I can incorporate, but there are a lot of factors and a lot of debates there. We will do a future video, so you can check back for that. We'll compare all the merits of incorporating, but there are a lot of tax benefits. Certainly in Canada, the corporate small business tax rate is much lower, depending on what province you're in. It can be as low as 12% on the first 500,000. That's much lower than a personal tax rate. Now, assuming you're taking all your profits, to pay your personal expenses, that's where the debate is, favors not incorporating. However, as I said, we will talk about that more in a head-to-head comparison. So you're going to obviously want to look at the merits of incorporating, and you'll want to talk to both your accountant and lawyer on that. And then you'll want to look at what other professionals you might need on your team. So, potentially a financial advisor can make sure that, your family's protected from, a coverage standpoint, right? So maybe even before you leave your job, you'll want to look at ensuring that, you have the proper disability coverage. That's something that you can't get when you first leave your employer because you don't have any earnings to insure. So if you do that before you start the business and before you leave your company, you have at least something to insure, and you could always potentially add to that coverage down the road. So definitely some, interesting facts there. We will do future video all on disability coverage as well as critical illness and life insurance. So stay tuned for that as well. So if you've watched any of our previous videos, we always like to include bonus material. So our bonus tip for you today is really simple. progress is better than perfection. So one thing, we could really delay ourselves and get in our heads in terms of, slowing down the process to getting the business going. We want that perfect logo, or we want that perfect copyright for the website. We want the best graphics on social media. I want to write the best business plan. I want to do this or that. All of that is great. And yes, you do want everything to be perfect. However, perfect isn't always possible, and you need to get earning revenue and making a profit as soon as possible so that you actually have a business. Once you have a business, you can reinvest in that business, and you can improve your logo. You can improve everything else that you wanted to do before, because you now have funds to do that. And once you get that momentum in your business, you can start to outsource, you can start to delegate, you can even hire employees. You can hire outside firms to do that work. So all that is possible once you have revenue, you have sales, you have customers, you have clients, but you need to get going first. So the sooner you can start earning revenue, getting to market, and proving that your service or product is needed, the better. So that's our tip. We can't stress that more enough. If you've missed any of our previous videos, please be sure to check those out next. We hope you got a lot of value from watching this video. Don't forget to please like and subscribe. It really means a lot to us, and by subscribing, you'll be notified on our future videos. Question of the day. Let us know below if you have started a business, or what business are you considering to start. We'd love to hear what you've got going on and where you're at in the process. Stay connected with us. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Beaver Finance. We love to stay connected with you. We got lots of daily content, so please check us out. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll catch you in the next episode.